Hey everyone, you're listening to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, the place to come if you just want to listen to some guys BS about movies the way you BS about movies, only slightly more intelligently, we hope. Be sure to visit our website at vsmoviepodcast.com. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Apple News, Google Play, Stitcher, basically any place you want to listen to us, you can hear us. And remember, if you like what you hear, don't forget to share us with your friends. Now, let's get on with the show. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Mark. That's Ryan. Hey Ryan.
Hey guys.
We are going to talk about Deadpool 2. No subtitle. It's not the second coming. It's just Deadpool 2. We swapped out directors for this one. We lost Tim Miller, who went off to direct X-Force, ironically, and we get David Leitch, who worked on John Wick 2 and John Wick and some other films. Same writers, but Ryan Reynolds took more of a hand. And we get more heroes than we had last time. It's just as crass, I think, as if you like the first one, you'll like this one. From that aspect. Ryan, what were your first impressions of Deadpool 2?
I think it's always hard to go and do a number two sort of thing when, your first one was kind of a radically different sort of thing. So I was okay with the film. I did find the first film to be kind of a breath of fresh air, but I don't know that this one really broke any new ground in the way that one did. Yeah, it's crass, but I almost felt like it was missing the set pieces. But it's hard to top the opening scene of the first Deadpool, and I think that's problematic. And I don't know that you can. It's like that first great album that a band puts out, and then you're supposed to follow it up with something. So I think generally speaking, people are going to be fine with Deadpool 2. I think it's a little more silly, a little more. It's not. There's kind of a mean streak in the first one, which I actually kind of liked.
Yeah, because it was the film was made angrily because they had to make it. It was like pulling teeth to make it, and then they kept getting beat by the studio while they were making it. So it was an angry film underneath.
Yeah, and
none of the jokes were that. Yeah, the jokes in the first one were barely jokes. They were more targeted insults that happened to be funny.
Yeah.
I think this one, all the same pieces from the first one are here, the crass comedy, the bad puns, the fourth wall breaking, the pop culture references, all that stuff is in this movie. But you're right. I think the word you're looking for is spontaneous.
Yeah.
And this one is not as spontaneous feeling as the first one was. Everything in the first one was just like pop, 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 pop. And you never knew when it was going to come. And in this one, it just feels like they were trying so hard to make Deadpool 2 that they forgot to make Deadpool 2, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there are some bits that go on way too long in this one. There are a couple of moments where you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that was okay. Well, that's not really funny. Okay, all right, we're gonna keep doing that. Okay,
yeah,
let's keep doing that. But that, look, I think most people will enjoy. If they like the first one, they'll probably enjoy the second one. So I don't want to be like, you shouldn't see this film. It's terrible, because it's not terrible.
Oh no, it's not. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's still funny. I still liked it, but yeah, it does kind of suffer from the fact that the first one was so incredibly good. And that's the biggest problem with this one, is it's not the first one. If this had been the first one and then they'd made the second one, it almost, you know what I mean? It almost would have felt like a step up. But you can't reverse that. It doesn't work. That's not how film works. Yeah, it's just there were a lot of things where you said that they just go on, and they did feel like they were pushing a lot of times to try to make sure you got it. And it's like, we all get it. We're all in the audience. We all get it. You don't, and that a lot of modern comedy suffers from that. Don't explain the joke. Just tell the joke and move on.
And I think a lot of that comes with improv on set. I imagine there was at least some improv on set. And while that can be great, that can also be detrimental because sometimes you'll rapid fire back and forth and none of it actually adds up to, being as funny as a well thought out and planned joke.
Right, and that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just say comedy's hard. I mean, we should point out. I mean, comedy is not easy. Contemporary comedies, a lot of them it's let's give you 150 jokes per minute, and hopefully 33% of those land, and the other you just ignore the other ones, and I think that's something that kind of I feel like this film felt a little more like.
Yeah, I think that might show David Leitch's relative inexperience as a director, as the man.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so he didn't do a bad job. And I think if he does Deadpool 3, which they may or may not still be talking about, he's got a couple other films in the pipeline, one of which I actually kind of want to see, and one of which I think is going to be silly. But I think overall he did okay. But I think a lot of that was him. I think maybe part of the problem was that through no fault of his own, Ryan Reynolds really, really was pushing hard because he understands what's at stake, so to speak. So maybe he was pushing, and the director couldn't quite reel that in as much as he needed to.
Yeah.
Now the supporting cast, we get Marina Baccarin back as Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
We get Colossus. We get Negasonic Teenage Warhead. But now we get Josh Brolin as Cable. We get Zazie Beetz as Domino. We get Bill Skarsgård popping up in this film as Zeitgeist. Yep. T.J. Miller's back. Terry Crews. And Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
Everyone's fan favorite. So we form X-Force. Everyone knows that. That's in the trailers. No surprises there. And they're going to go try to stop Cable from killing the kid.
The kid from if you saw Hunt for the Wildebeest.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what else he was in. Something else too. But
it's essentially the same character he played in.
Oh really? Is it really?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So whatever.
So they don't want after the big hullabaloo that was made about Infinity War. Don't spoil it. Of course, Deadpool / Wade Wilson / Ryan Reynolds had to come out and say, "Don't spoil Deadpool 2." Now you think, that's a cute little gimmick. Actually, yeah, there's some spoilery stuff that if you're not ready for, there's a whole bit in the middle that doesn't work if you know it's coming.
Yeah.
And so I would love to talk about that, but we can't because Deadpool demands your silence. Damn autocorrect.
He demands your sister.
Demands your sister, yes. But that being said, so we get through the whole movie. Lessons are learned. Just like in the first movie, things are done. But in the end, it's almost a movie that actually accomplishes nothing. Mostly because of the intra credits scene.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
No. I mean, and to be honest, I mean, I think a lot of that the wit of the first film is actually in those end scenes.
And thank you. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Which is so I mean, literally the best parts are.
The most Deadpool-y stuff is in the credits.
At the very end.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you do have to wait for that. And that, I don't want to sound too down on this film because I'm really not. I'm not a hardcore Deadpool fan. I think he serves an absolute purpose. I do enjoy quite a bit of the kind of sidekick stuff that he does. Like I think I said before, I love when in the Wolverine, the death of Wolverine, his teaming up with old Captain America, I thought was phenomenal writing and just fun. And you get moments of that here, but I just like I said, there was kind of an immediacy to that first one, like we were saying earlier before, that just isn't here. There's no, it's like look, we've succeeded. We're going to be a huge hit almost regardless of what we do now. And so I do think that there was a little bit of lack of focus going on, or at least there wasn't the same urgency to make this film as there was before. And I'm sure the budget was much larger and the restraints were far less, and they pretty much let them do whatever they wanted. And you know, Josh Brolin's fine. I have, although there is kind of a seeing him, I guess, do multiple, having just seen him do Thanos, and now he's doing this.
And don't forget, he plays a mean Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. Well, gosh, but I felt like Cable wasn't as badass as he should be. Like there was almost, he felt a little watered down to me.
Well, he did, because he only showed up for the bits that Deadpool needed to make fun of him. And so, so his story his presence was really secondary to anything else. I mean, it's a cool character. I hope they actually bring him back for X-Force if they include Cable in that film.
Yeah.
Because I think if you see more of his Cable, I think that's a really nice fit. Chris Evans as Captain America, or Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I'm cool with Josh Brolin playing Cable, even though Cable is supposed to be this huge guy.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, find me a huge guy that's going to be able to carry. So, Wolverine was bigger than he's supposed to be. Cable can be smaller than he's supposed to be. I'm okay with that.
And I admit, I think I would have liked to see Stephen Lang in it, in the role, because I thought that made sense to me. And it does get a little annoying that we're seeing the same actors recycled, over and over again in these films. Particularly, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It is annoying to me that we seem to have like a group of actors that we pull from who are now in the Fox Marvel. They're in the Disney Marvel. They're in the Marvel or the DC universe. They're in the, I mean, it's just it gets to the point where you're just like, come on, kid. I realize that you're wanting names and whatnot, but I don't think they're really serving the stories as well as they could if they were just bringing in people. I mean, people forget, Hugh Jackman was nobody pretty much.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the first, choice for Wolverine. And yet, he embodied that character in a way that because I think part of it was we hadn't seen him do anything else. So he didn't have any, there was no real, there was no reference point beyond that. We didn't have a Jonah Hex in the back of our mind. We didn't have
Thanos.
All these,
we didn't have Men in Black. But what's funny is that, speaking of Hugh Jackman, people might argue that the role of Wolverine made Hugh Jackman, and I would argue that Hugh Jackman made that role.
I think he did,
because Wolverine, if they'd have fucked that up, the fans would have been merciless.
Well, and we saw when they did,
even with Jackman, they said Jackman was fine, but this is, but so the fans will tell you. I mean, we've talked about this when we've talked about Marvel and we've talked about DC. The fans will tell you if you're right or wrong. So the argument, I will make the argument that Jackman made that role and not the other way around. I would also argue that Brolin, even despite Thanos, despite Jonah Hex, despite Men in Black, he happened to bring the legitimate acting bona fides to Cable that one can argue a Tom Hiddleston or a Benedict Cumberbatch brought to their roles. In the Marvel universe. So it's sometimes that baggage and that back catalog is okay. The problem is that I think they underutilized Brolin. And it sounds weird talking about. I think they underutilized this actor in this role in this film. And we're talking about fucking Deadpool. But surprising in this film, I don't know Zazie Beetz from Red Beetz. But I love them both, ironically. I think Domino's the funnest character in this film, and that includes Wade Wilson / Deadpool.
Oh, I would agree. It's because Well, I think it's new, and there is a certain silliness to her character, but it's it's again, if you're going to make these films and you're going to kind of take risks, I mean, she's probably the best character in the sense that we haven't really. I mean, she's not Storm.
Nope.
She's not. Yeah, I mean, you can't like say she doesn't. A lot of times superheroes are clones of other superheroes, and that's just kind of the way it is. But she's kind of her unique being, and she's, yeah. I think, honestly, I'm a little more excited for an X-Force game or a movie than just to see all these other people interact and whatnot.
Oh yeah, and I hope they move. Like I said, I hope they move her over, and I hope they move Brolin over, and I hope they move Colossus and and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Although it wouldn't surprise me, they've actually kind of made her. I can't remember the guy's name from New Mutants. Her powers are now kind of similar to his, and I'll have to go look it up. And I feel bad for not knowing the guy's name off the top of my head. But I think in this film, Domino is actually the Deadpool that we got in the first film.
Yeah.
She's just very direct and straight and sarcastic.
Yeah, the sass
and confident. Yes.
Yeah.
So she's actually, I think, more Deadpool in this movie than Deadpool is Deadpool in this movie. That's not to say that Deadpool is. She feels more first movie Deadpool than this Deadpool does. That's a weird comparison to make, I know, but she says what's on her mind, and she's contradictory, but never in an in your face kind of way. It's always just like statement effect. Luck's not a superpower. Yes, it's just, she doesn't care. And Deadpool in the first movie didn't care, didn't care.
And you know what? I believe her.
It
is a super when you see it in play.
Yeah, she's a probability magnet, basically.
Yeah.
Which of course, now I want her to go up against Scarlet Witch, because that might be able to power the universe. The Scarlet Witch's probability spheres and Domino's probability magnetism, so to speak.
Yeah.
That would be crazy to watch. Yeah, because we'd have an X-Men. Actually, she'd be an X-Men or Avenger and a New Mutant. I think that would be fun. There's like 7 or 8 blink and you miss it cameos.
Yes.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, there's one really good one, and it was a particular actor who was up for or in talks for one of the roles originally, and they just couldn't clear up the schedule. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple things where you're like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this: these to me are less intrusive than, say, what we saw in Thor, when we had some cameos in Thor that were very like, look at who we have here. These are, as you put it, you blink and you miss it, and I think that there's actually that's a little more fun.
Yeah,
because it's
the one I'm talking about, because that's hilarious.
Yes.
Given the entire first film, that was hilarious.
Yes. Well, it's like, was that okay? All right, there we go.
And better yet, it was like, was it really?
Yeah.
And it was. The question is, was it CGI or was it everyone show up on set one day?
Yeah.
So who knows? But it was.
Yeah. There's a I would. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. Okay.
Damn spoilers.
I think it was real. I think it was.
I think it was real too. And I did that. That was one. I literally hawed really loud at that point.
There's plenty of evidence to suggest that was probably a real moment. But it's hard to talk about it without saying what that moment was.
Hey, you know what?
Anyway,
I don't have a sister. I could spoil all I want. No, I won't. But overall, no, the movie is worth it. Go see it. It is definitely good.
Yeah.
I just wish it was more of the first. Like I said, I just felt like he was pushing too hard.
Someone said this to me, and I think it's accurate. It's like hearing a really funny joke for the second time.
Yeah.
And that second time, if it's a good joke, it's still funny, but there's not that sense of newness to it. There's not that, and I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 fell into this a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's a really
How
good comparison, actually.
how do you shake things up when your first movie, that's pretty much what you did, is just you completely went against everything. So now how do you continue to down that path? And I don't know. I might think I think Deadpool 2 I might actually prefer over Guardians. It's close, but I felt a little more enjoyment. But and again, it's because I think in Deadpool 2 we do get some new characters
Yeah,
that are you know
there's some new moving
yeah
pieces.
yeah
Yeah, no,
yeah
I was
and I
going to say that's probably why.
and I think that ultimately, and it might be Domino, it might
But yeah,
yeah
no, we don't just get Domino. We get
no we
Zeitgeist, we get
yes
Bedlam, we get Shatterstar, and we get Peter.
Peter
We get Peter. Peter's great. People are gonna love Peter.
yeah
And that just sounds weird saying it, and I know that's why
well
I know that's why he's named
that's
that.
yeah he's named that and we can all identify with Peter, right?
Right.
I
Peter
mean
is the everyman. He is. Everybody's got a little Peter in him. Wait, that's a
yeah
Deadpoolism. Um,
yes yeah
but yeah, no, it's yeah, and then I don't want to get too far into spoilers about X Force and about just, But regardless, if you like the humor of the first one, you're going to get more of it in this one, just like you did. You're right in Guardians 2, you got more of Guardians 1. But I think it's probably by a nose in horse racing parlance that I would probably pick Deadpool 2 over Guardians 2, and it's
um
probably because of the additional pieces.
and I should that there were I was at another screening today and people were talking about Deadpool 2, and there are people who do prefer the second one. I was a little surprised, but there were a handful of people, and they're not, and some of them are diehard Deadpool fans, and some of them weren't, But so I mean, there is a chance that I guess it depends on what you're looking for. For me, it just wasn't as fresh.
Right. So okay. So we're both going to say go watch Deadpool 2. I think we can
If
agree on that. If you
if you're
liked
okay,
Deadpool 1, go
if
watch
you're okay,
Deadpool 2.
yeah, if you're okay with the crassness and whatnot, sure.
Now
I
now the big question:
mm,
does it win the box office this week?
yes, yes, it does.
Does it hit 100?
Yeah, I
One
think it
did. Does
does.
it really? You think so?
I think it does. It's right in that area. Although it is weird though because that first film there was such a underdog spirit to it, and again that's kind of how the Guardians film was, but Deadpool even more so. But you don't have that sense of we've got to go see this movie or they won't make another one,
Yeah.
or wow, or I can't believe they made this movie. We better go see it before they pull it out of theaters, or whatever your paranoia was. So yeah, I think there is. I guess there is a kind of not nearly as the kind of energy going into it, because we going into that first week, I think anyone who knew Deadpool, outside of obviously the movie studio, who had no clue what they were doing, I think we all knew how popular Deadpool was and that it was going to be a hit and that they were going to show up in droves. And it was only a question of, well, how big does it go? And it blew everyone's expectations away. So now, can it possibly match that? And no, I don't think it can. Even if it does the same amount of money, I don't think there's going to be a different energy to it. But yeah, I think it's number one, and it could push 100, sure.
Okay. And then Infinity War stays number 2.
Yeah, because what else is gonna, I mean, there's nothing really anything else that's gonna step up and really challenge. I mean, I guess there's book club that's
Yeah.
coming out,
That's a very specific audience.
yeah. So I mean, and the thing about it is again, Deadpool is popular among both genders. This isn't like, I mean, I think we're hopefully past the point where people are like, well, superheroes are for men, because that's not really, particularly when you think about that. I mean, Deadpool features some really fantastic female characters in
True.
this film. So I don't think I think book club will sell to the older crowd, but I think anyone who's under 35 is, even 40, I don't know, 45 is going to go to Deadpool because it's even if you're a casual fan, you saw the first film and you're interested to see what will come next.
Right. And then next week is
Yeah,
Solo.
yeah,
So Deadpool's got 1 week to front load, and then it boils down to, ironically, another film that changed directors,
yeah,
did some reshoots, as apparently Deadpool 2 did.
yeah.
Still going up again, and it's still, if Deadpool somehow doesn't get word of mouth, and Solo is not as good as early viewers all basically say it is, but they're all industry viewers really.
Yeah.
Which I've actually seen a lot of people commenting going, it doesn't matter what they say, they're all going to say it's fine. You have to see it yourself. They're not saying it sucks. They're saying disregard what you're hearing coming out of that preview or out of the premiere because they have to say it's good. They can't come out and say it sucks balls. They can't. And that's a true statement, but you don't really hear that a lot in social media on a movie like Solo, on a Star Wars film. You don't hear that. So there's some doubt about Solo, regardless of what people are saying about the premiere and the early stuff. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm saying that it's word of mouth, and that is a fickle thing.
I could tell you if they're right or wrong.
Well, I'm sure you could, you fucker.
But I'm not allowed to talk about it until tomorrow.
There better be a screening next week. Otherwise, week after that. Yeah, so it's like I said, that's a weird. So this is a weird 2 week period. It depends on how much, I guess, Deadpool holds on to its previous appeal, and then what Solo actually manages to pull off.
Look, but I think we've got a. I think that Deadpool can do okay. As we hit into summer, you're going to have people who are traditionally maybe only saw one movie a week. Well, maybe now they'll see two. And so, I mean, I can see Deadpool still having a decent run underneath Solo. Wow, did I really? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get Deadpoolism.
Yeah, sorry, that one. Anyway, I think I think Deadpool is a sort of film that it can have still have a pretty good carryover for a few weeks, even though we're gonna Solo's coming out, and I think Solo is gonna do some big numbers. So I don't know. I'm not really worried about that.
It's going to make its money. I'm just speculating on what's out there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to make all of that money. I don't know if it's going to do 700 million. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a shoe-in for $1 billion, and it did 700. And so at this point, it's hard for me to predict how long and how well it's going to do. But I think Deadpool will be just fine.
Yeah, and for the record, I'm looking forward to Solo. So don't anyone think I'm like thinking Solo's going to suck. I'm looking forward to it.
You should.
I'm just reporting what's out there. I'm just saying.
You should look forward to movies.
I am, yeah, and I'm hopeful. I'm not down on it. Again, like I said, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing, and what So we'll see. But again, audience, like I said, word of mouth is a weird thing.
Sure.
So how do you think Deadpool got to $700 million?
I don't know, because here's the thing. But I think too there was probably a factor with the first Deadpool film where it was like, you've got to see what they just did. I can't believe they let them do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you get that again.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's a weird. But like I said, I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's all I know.
It's good to be a geek.
It is. Yes. It's a wonderful time to be alive and a geek. There you have it. That's where we're going to leave it. If you're a Deadpool person, go see Deadpool. If you saw Infinity War, I will tell you to go see Deadpool. I won't tell you why, but I will tell you to go see it.
Yeah.
Because, it's Marvel and you should support Marvel. That's why I'm going to tell you. That's what I'm going to tell you. What I'm hoping is that Deadpool 2 does not influence Infinity War 2 / Avengers 4, whatever the hell they're going to call it.
I don't know. I
You
think
know
the
what I'm talking about.
well, I do, yeah, but
I hope not,
influence.
because if they do, I'm gonna throat
No,
punch them.
well, I'm gonna. I'm gonna. No, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not
No,
gonna talk
yeah,
about
okay,
it.
no, okay. That's it. We're done. That's Deadpool in a nutshell. Next week solo. At some
Mm-hmm.
point next week solo. I will be out of town next weekend, so we might not record until Memorial Day. If Ryan is available on Memorial Day, I will be back, unless I see it at an earlier screening and we record before I go.
Yeah, I'll look into that for you.
So there you go. So that's next. Next up is the next big review is Solo. I've got a couple of smaller indie films I've got to get back to review for y'all, and then we'll talk Solo. So until next time, I'm Mark. That's Ryan,
See you guys.
and we will talk to y'all later. Bye bye.